bought this Camaro SS for $1,800, which would be an absolute steal if, of course, it hadn't burned to the ground. But here's the deal. We're gonna salvage and sell off everything that survived the fire, and that should leave us with this 6.2 liter LS3 engine to swap into Fernando's M3 for free. Of course, there's the alternative outcome where this engine's torched too, in which case that $1,800 might as well have been in the glove box when it went up, but I suppose we're not gonna find out in the parking lot. Yeah, the whole burned down Chevy thing's obviously becoming a trend at this point. The last one worked out okay, so I figure what could one more possibly hurt? Now, maybe the craziest part about this one is in the auction pictures, it had a giant cow hood on it and no pictures underneath it. So nobody that was bidding on it, us included, had any clue what we were getting. Now, at some point between when we won the car at auction and when it showed up here at the shop, the hood just disappeared. I assume based on this that it just flew off the transporter, so it's probably somewhere on the side of a highway between Atlanta and here. Given that this thing was a complete blind purchase, I was really just hoping it wasn't a molten pile of aluminum under the hood, and at the very least, it looks like that's not the case. At first glance, at least, it seems like most of the bones, the important stuff, all that survived. And not only that, well, somebody's put a little bit of work into this thing too. We got a high ram intake manifold. There is a set of BBK aftermarket headers. We've also got a catch can here, not that that's any good anymore. And then there's this. This is an ethanol content sensor, or I suppose was an ethanol content sensor, and that implies that they were running 85 fuel in it. That's not something you usually do on a stock LS. There's just not much to be gained unless you're forced induction, which clearly this one isn't, or you have a built engine, or at the very least, a cam.
So this thing was definitely chopping though.
She might be, which means you might be chopping. The M3 is going to be chopping.
Ooh.
But before we pull this engine out, see what we're working with, we got to try to recoup our money. And the good news is that shouldn't take very long because there is pretty much nothing good on this thing. The front end, outside of hopefully the drivetrain, is basically garbage. The interior is not basically garbage. It is just garbage. There is nothing good in there. This is definitely a looks better from behind type deal. But it's actually not the worst thing in the world. There's something real expensive underneath there that should be far enough away from the fire, but survived perfectly fine. But the first thing on the agenda is our rear bumper here, and, well, it'll get a little ugly. There, you got it. Usually, you're supposed to open this with either the button on the key fob or the one inside the car, but obviously there's no electrical power to this car anymore. And the emergency release, you're supposed to access that through the rear seat, which is now melted to the chassis. So this was pretty much our only option. And luckily, somebody, I guess not luckily, but at some point, somebody had pulled this spoiler